your dog hasn't forgotten them. And what happens next will change everything you thought you knew. There is a moment, somewhere in this world right now, where a dog is standing completely still. Its nose is working, processing something invisible to every human in the room. And suddenly, it remembers. It might have been 2 years, it might have been 5. The person walking through the door hasn't seen this dog since it was young. But the dog's body already knows before its eyes confirm what the nose already found. We tend to think of memory as something that lives in the mind. Images, voices, dates. But dogs were never built that way. Their memory lives somewhere older, deeper, and far more permanent than anything we have language for. Most people assume that when a dog seems excited to see someone after a long absence, it's simply because dogs love everyone. That's the comfortable explanation, the one that keeps things simple. But the science tells a different story entirely. What researchers have discovered about how dogs encode the people they love is something that doesn't just change how we understand animals. It quietly changes how we understand what it means to be remembered by another living being. There is a field of study at the intersection of olfactory neuroscience and animal cognition that has been building a picture of the dog's memory system. What it reveals is quietly extraordinary. Dogs possess a scent memory that, by some estimates, is so detailed it would be the equivalent of a human being able to recall someone's face in perfect resolution after a decade. The dog's olfactory bulb, the part of the brain responsible for processing smell, is 40 times larger relative to brain size than a human's. But size alone doesn't explain the phenomenon researchers keep documenting. It's the architecture of how that scent memory connects directly to the limbic system, the emotional center of the brain, that makes it something else entirely. In human brains, a smell can trigger a memory. But in a dog's brain, a smell doesn't just trigger the memory. It essentially reconstructs the full emotional state that was present when that scent was first encountered. The dog doesn't just remember the person, it re-experiences them. This is why the reunion videos you've seen make you cry without fully understanding why. You're witnessing not just recognition, you're watching an emotional archive open in real time. Think about the last time your dog pressed its nose to a bag belonging to someone they love. You probably smiled at it. Maybe you said something like, "Yes, that's theirs." But what was actually happening in that moment was neurologically profound. We tend to interpret that behavior as curiosity or excitement, something surface level, something simple. But what the dog's brain is doing in that moment is cross-referencing against a library of scent signatures it has been quietly building and storing since the first meeting. Each person has a scent profile as unique as a fingerprint, and dogs don't just detect that profile once, they update it. They track how it changes across seasons, across moods, across illness and health. The library never closes. This is why a dog can recognize someone who returns after years abroad, even if that person now smells of different food, different air, different soap. The core signature remains, and the dog finds it, the way you might recognize an old song through a bad speaker. The distortion doesn't erase what's underneath. Now consider this. When your dog sits close to a piece of clothing left behind by a family member who traveled, it isn't being dramatic. It isn't performing attachment. It is, according to behavioral researchers, engaging in a kind of active waiting, a way of maintaining the neural connection to a presence that isn't physically there. People often think this behavior is separation anxiety, and sometimes it can be, but in most cases, what you're watching is something more intentional. The dog is keeping the memory alive through sensory contact. It is, in the most literal biological sense, holding on. There's a study that asked dogs to navigate a room where photographs of familiar and unfamiliar humans were displayed alongside scent samples. The dogs consistently oriented toward the combination of familiar face and familiar scent, with a response that activated brain regions associated with anticipation and reward. Not just recognition, anticipation. They were expecting something good. That means when your dog sees a photo of you while you're away, it isn't confused by the static image. Something in its brain stirs. Something warm and forward-looking. It is, in some measurable sense, hoping. Dogs also appear to track time through scent concentration. When you leave the house, your scent begins to fade. Researchers have noted that dogs seem to anticipate their owner's return at roughly the right time, not because they've learned a schedule, but because they've learned the scent threshold at which you typically return. They are reading time through olfactory decay like a clock made of belonging. This isn't mysticism. This is the result of tens of thousands of years of co-evolution between dogs and humans. We shaped each other, and somewhere in that shaping, dogs developed a sensitivity to our presence, our return, and our absence that operates on a frequency we can barely measure. When a dog sees someone they haven't encountered in years, there is often a moment of pause before the reaction. People sometimes misread this as uncertainty or distance, but behavioral scientists describe this pause differently. It is the moment the brain is integrating all incoming information, confirming what the nose already knows, before the full emotional response is released. The recognition doesn't come slowly, it has already happened. What you're watching in that pause is the dog deciding how to express what it already feels. And then, the expression arrives in full. There is something quietly heartbreaking about this when you sit with it, because it means that every person your dog has ever loved, every hand that has ever fed them, every voice that has ever spoken softly to them in the dark, that person remains, encoded, present inside a memory system that doesn't fade the way human memory does. We forget, we blur, the details soften over time. The dog holds, not out of effort, not out of discipline, but because the architecture of their brain was literally built for it. Your dog has never forgotten a single person who mattered to them. Think about that. Think about who that includes. Think about what that means for how they feel when they're with you right now. The emotional depth of a dog's memory isn't just about recognition. It's about the quality of what is stored. Researchers studying the emotional lives of animals have found that dogs appear to store memories with their emotional valence intact. Not just who, but how it felt to be with them. This changes the way we should think about our interactions with dogs. Every moment of gentleness, every moment of comfort, every evening spent simply being present together, these aren't just nice moments. They are being filed away in a system that does not delete. This should make you feel something, because it means the dog sleeping at your feet right now isn't just comfortable. It is, in whatever way its inner world allows, storing this, storing you, adding to an archive of what you mean to it. And perhaps the most quietly astonishing part of all of this is that it's mutual in a way we rarely acknowledge. We think of our dogs as beings we remember, but we are beings they remember, with a fidelity and a permanence that most human relationships never quite achieve. You are, to your dog, unforgettable, not metaphorically, neurologically. They cannot forget you even if they wanted to. The memory of you is woven into the oldest and most essential part of how their brain makes sense of the world. So the next time your dog lifts their head when someone walks through the door, or freezes for a moment before a rush of joy, know that you are watching something ancient and extraordinary. You are watching a memory system designed by evolution itself to never let go of the ones that matter. And if you've ever wondered whether your dog would remember you after a long time apart, the answer isn't just yes. The answer is that they've been waiting, measuring the silence with a precision we're only beginning to understand. Holding your scent like a quiet promise that you will return. They always remember. And somehow knowing that, it becomes easier to believe that love, in whatever form it takes, doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be real. If this changed the way you think about the animals sharing your life, take a moment to look at them today a little differently. And if you want to keep exploring what science is uncovering about the minds and hearts of the animals we love, stay close. There's so much more waiting.